You know what time it is? It's time for some Gateway to Geats. Another episode, another video. You know how this works. Our recap for this episode, however, is done by Nago since Tycoon is out of the picture. It's not a vlog, and it's just more of like a setup for Nago to eventually ask a question of like, why is the game not over? Why is the monster still around? I thought we won. I thought I kicked the can. What's going on here? And it's kind of shown to us, the audience, that right after the can got kicked out of the arena, there was like just enough time for the arena to grow for the can to be in it again, and the monster grabbed it and absorbed it into their self, so now they can't kick it realistically. So they got to figure out what to do. But it's technically a new game in the round, a new round of the game. So the game master shows up for the first time to our contestants. They're all like, "Oh, big deal! Fucking what the hell? It's the game master," and he introduces the new round. They have to take care of an egg to get a power up, which could beat the big monster guy. And they're all like, "This is not the time to be doing this." So yeah, but realistically, this does tie into the Tycoon theory that I think is kind of like percolating throughout people who are watching this, like the concepts of Tycoon. But before I continue, hey, call to action, I guess. Like, comment, subscribe, do all of those things. Go follow me on Twitter at Boingo_writer, and go follow me on Twitch at Boingo at twitch.tv/BoingoWriter. You can do it. I believe in you. But we come back from the intro song, which has really grown on me. Again, I just wish I had a button at the end. To the monster rampaging around the world. And they pulled a very, very good manipulation of emotion. Because we come back and see a family walking around with their baby in a carriage. And the monster stomps down. Everything goes flying. And you just see the little tiny babby crying their head off. And it's just like, oh, fuck you, monster. You know? All the writers show up. And transform. They do all the thing. And there's a couple slapstick gags involving the eggs, mostly with Nago. Nago really kind of falls into like point of view, emotional center, slapstick character in this episode. I think it's mostly just because Tycoon's not there to also take some of the burden, and we've also got rid of Mary at this point in time, who was very much a slapstick style character. So she's really picking up a lot of the comedy slack past few episodes, and it's noticeable then, but it's really noticeable now. It's just like she's doing a lot of the heavy lightening of tone, essentially. You know, it's a fun fight. You know, it's not bad. There's some cool bits. The slapstick is also not super sugary. The best way I can put it. It's not overly bombastic. It's good slapstick. Best way to put it. And then Geats does some recon as Ninja, confirms where the can is located within the monster. He completed a secret mission and gets the power up of Boost. Also, I just realized it's literally a Monster Energy can. It's Monster Energy. That. The monster disappears, however, while he got Boost, and it's like, Jesus Christ, how fast are these monsters? It's weird. I wonder if that will play into anything, or if it's just something we're just supposed to accept. We're back at the lounge. Nago and Buffa are waiting for their eggs to hatch, just really wanting them to do it. They both do it in some neat character showcasey ways. Nago is very kind of gentle, but wanting it to happen. Buffa is literally trying to bust the egg on the table, which is just funny because it's just like knock knock, knock knock, knock knock. Just good little timing on that. Nago does get her egg to crack, and it comes out as Propeller. That's neat. Buffa does as well and gets Drill, which kind of makes sense. Nago kind of just like try to protect the egg, kind of pretty typical stuff. Got a cool little fight thing. Buffa was a pig-headed dude and was just trying to like force it to happen, so he got Drill, which can pierce through the concepts, you know? Neat little parallel there. But part of the Tycoon theory, if they had worked relating to the whole like theory of Tycoon, is ultimately like the butler guy comes around and says like, oh, these are good power-ups, and looking on further, you could see how if they really worked together as a team, they could have beaten the guy. Very much the idea of like Tycoon was the like morality linchpin between the whole group, trying to point them in the right direction, which may ultimately lead to just fixing the problem. But no one wanted to listen to him, and no one does listen to him, and they don't work together in quite the right way in order to solve the problem. Again, it's very much like selfishness versus selflessness kind of thing. Geats' egg has yet to hatch. He's being very like doting parent. It's like, oh, they're a late bloomer. That's funny. But Geats is still continuing on the idea that he's just destined to win. He will win, regardless of whatever they do. And this is really, I think now, especially because we don't have Tycoon as an emotional audience center, it really does show Geats is just really blunt and bad at talking to you. He does have elements of caring, though, because the way he says, like, oh, you should just quit, is very much like, stop. I know I can win. Don't do this and get hurt. You know, he wants them to be safe by giving up. And he's just really bad at communication. Though all three of them, the writers reaffirm why they want to win the game, so on and so forth. Nago reconfirms that she wants to be out of her parents' thumbs. Buffa reaffirms the fact that he wants to get revenge for his friend. And Geats just continuously goes on about, well, visually, he doesn't verbalize this, continuously goes on about figuring out the stuff that's been hinted that we don't truly know about, the mother, the coin, all these kind of things. You know, it just does a really good job at making Geats more relatable now that Tycoon's here, because that's been a thing I've been enjoying about Geats, is that our main focal point hasn't been the main writer. It creates this like a neat, fun change of pace. But now that Tycoon is out of the picture for right now, it does do a lot of good to have Geats be a more relatable character at this point, and letting us into his world a little bit more. The monster returns, and much like episode 1, every other writer goes out and fights it, but Geats stays back at the lounge. Nago and Buffa use their new power-ups, Propeller and Drill. Really fun action, really fun little fight scene here, and it leads to bigger and bigger battle till it just looks like an all-out war. It's fun, it's fantastic. Just one little small detail I really want to bring up. I love Nago's little like Superman punch that she does with like the propeller blade. It's just a good visual. It's a good line of movement, you know what I mean? Geats does show up on the motorcycle, wondering why his egg won't hatch. The monster then blasts Nago and Buffa away. They are wrecked. They are battered and bruised. And Geats comes in and goes like, "Hey, you guys, yo." Geats and Buffa have like a brief conversation with Geats, listening to Buffa basically saying like he doesn't want to give up. He's a zombie. He's gonna come back from the dead. He's pig-headed. He's strong-willed. He just goes like, "No, fuck you." And that kind of inspires Geats to have a little bit of an idea, where Geats uses the monster to basically wake up the power-up, and he gets the power-up monster. Cute. It is a cute power-up. It is the most cutesy thing that they've had in the power-ups so far. It is a little teddy bear holding the driver, which is cute. So Geats uses the monster power-up, fights off the big monster, does the whole thing, does kind of like the 3-inch punch kind of idea of like punching through the monster with his new monster gauntlets, and destroys the can within the monster. And with that, Geats wins the Desire Grand Prix. Wahoo! Good on you, Geats. You did it again. And ultimately, there's a little bit of a conversation between Geats and Buffa of Geats basically going like, hey, you keep fighting for what you want, and I'm just gonna be here to be your rival. Like, I understand that this is a process you're going through. I am here for you to wallop on. And Buffa's like, you son of a bitch. And like a nice, it's a good little thing. It feels like there's a respect between them. We don't see what Geats' wish is this go around, but the woman in black and white is not pleased with it. She is upset, but it has to be granted, whatever it is, the Game Master says. So, yeah. This episode really goes to show that Tycoon was kind of right, as ultimately they have to protect the egg to even have a chance at winning against the monster. And ultimately, they all want to win so much individually that they don't think of any other way to beat the boss. They don't want, like, they get in their own way of actually saving people, you know? Geats, I think, is winning so much just because he has to fight so hard so others can achieve their desires, you know? He is, ultimately, I think Geats is selfishly selfless. He wants other people's desires to, he wants other people to fight and achieve their desires so much that he becomes a selfless hero, but that's ultimately his desire, so he's fighting selfishly. It's a weird little dichotomy, and I think it's interesting though. It's interesting though. It's kind of like Edgy and O's a tiny bit, because they're also dealing with similar themes of like want and desire and aspects of that. But I think it's similar, but it's distinct from Edgy, which I think is the main thing that they have to do with this, you know. But like, it definitely shows that like Geats is very much about like the selflessness, especially with that line with Buffa of like always being there to fight him. It's like, I want you to fight me, you know. It's that dichotomy. That's interesting. But with all that, we arrive back at the lounge, the lights are off, and whoa, the Game Master is the butler. Who could have guessed? I mean, it wasn't super obvious, but the moment the Game Master came in with a white suit, you're like, oh, you're the butler. Okay. So overall, pretty good episode. A little, I wouldn't say lackluster, it's a little lumpy, because it felt like the story was already completed last episode, and this feels like a little bit more. Like, I understand why it was structured this way, but it does just create like a weird little lump. And I wonder if that's going to be how the Grand Prix are going to end, if they're going to be kind of lumps, because the first episode was the end of the Grand Prix. So if we go with like the logic of how the show's been going, there were like 8 episodes before that, give or take, you know what I mean? But yeah, pretty good episode this go around. Boy howdy did I miss Tycoon. Just partially because I love the character. He's been great just throughout this whole show. And him not being here doesn't make the episode worse. It's still a good episode. And I say it's of equal quality. I just really enjoyed like his comment on everyone's mindset of him basically being the one going like, am I taking crazy pills? You know, of just like looking at everyone going like, why are you being assholes? Which is just a fun it's a fun dynamic to have, you know? But I'll find it a little strange that we don't see even a hint of him. We don't know what's going on with him whatsoever. So I really hope that it's not ominous there. So, yeah, Gateway to Geats. Hey, here's some more call to actions, because fuck it, why not? Like, comment, subscribe, do all the things. But let's talk about some comments. One comment I really want to talk about from MHAR12-4LA. I don't know if there is another way to say that, but brought up just a beautiful written thing, just kind of like commenting on like the tycoon theory, as I'm calling it now, of just bringing up the idea that Tycoon isn't necessarily there to win the game, but he's there to make the powerful writers better people. So basically using Tycoon to teach Geats and Buffa and others like how to not be a shit person, which it's a great mindset. You know, they did bring up the idea that like, oh, Tycoon's unfit to be a common writer is a little bullshit. I think it fits more of like the idea of like, you are too selfless. You let yourself get shit rocked, bud. Maybe you should take a break. But again, I definitely think there's some legs in this whole understanding of Tycoon as like a morality barometer for the rest of the writers. So let's see how that goes. But hey, till next time, till next week, I am Boingo Writer. This is Gateway to Geats. You are a lovely person, and I hope you have a nice ass day.